Hi, this is Roman, and today we're going to be talking about Unit 7 on circles. And it's a 6-day modeling lesson with a focus question on how can mathematical modeling be used to represent objects on a sphere. So we're focused on viewing distances here. What I'll be sharing today is how to incorporate nearpod into a lesson like this. So I'm going to start with slide 12. Here we have a few questions on slide 12. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a plain set of Google Slides. So this is available if you have a Nearpod membership. And if I click add-ons and Nearpod, it'll give me all the options for my Nearpod on the right-hand side. So the first option that I'd like to share is the open-ended question. So if I click an open-ended question, it's going to take a second to load. So here, I'm going to take one of these questions, and I'm just going to copy it in there. And you'll be able to see each student as they answer their open-ended questions. You could change the font here, the color, the bold, how you'd like to see it. You could also add an image as an option or enable students to record their responses. One thing I also like doing here on the top right hand side of Nearpod is adding a timer. Great for managing your time in class. So here I might want to give this 3 minutes, and as I click add, once you go to this activity as a teacher and you shift to this slide, the timer will start moving. And if the timer does go off before the time that you'd like, you could just shift your slides back and forth and the timer will reset. But you could take note of that based on the time that you allotted for the activity. So I'm going to click save here, and that's a way to add an open-ended question. Right, and anytime I could just click edit and I could see what I created there. So the next thing that I'm going to share is how to create a draw-it activity. And for us in math, the draw-it activity is very valuable because we want students to show their work. We might want them to graph something or annotate and label. So I'm going to go back to my set of slides here, and I'll work with slide 15. So in slide 15, we have this nice graphic organizer which is asking us, based on the identified unknowns, things that you already know, things that would be useful to know, and things that you can figure out or research or assume. So it's nice to have all this on one page instead of 3 separate slides with 3 separate questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this slide, and that's something that you could use as well. So if you do Control-C for a PC or Command-C for a MacBook, you will be able to copy this slide, and then in your set of slides, it will just pop up. And here they always give you an option here whether you want to match slides in the current presentation or keep the original style. So I am going to delete that, and now you'll see on your bottom of your Nearpod tools that you have the option to convert to a draw-it, and that is going to be what we want to do here. So I'm going to click convert to draw-it, and this could take a few seconds. It's one of the more time-consuming aspects of using or creating a Nearpod in Google Slides. So we'll notice until you actually see the slide that you converted to a draw-it in the background, it has not completed it. And if you don't see it in the background, it is not complete. So it's important to be cognizant of that. Now, one reason that I like using Google Slides for our Nearpod activities is after I make it, and I want to have our lesson on it here, so we'll name it our lesson. What I could do is I could share it with anybody, and you could share it with anybody in your school using the link. And what they could do is just make a copy. So if we go to File, make a copy of the entire presentation. Now they'll have their own individual copy, and they can modify it any way they want it, and it still leaves your original intact. So you're able to share, and changes don't have to affect the way you originally intended your activity to be. and you'll see these are two different separate slides, copy and the originals. So the last step here would be to click save and go to Nearpod. So it is saving. This also could take a few seconds here. As it saves, you are now ready to go. So you also have two options from this screen that you could use. You can click live participation or student paste. So let's show you some of the aspects of live participation. If I click live participation using our Nearpod app here, we'll get a code. There's also a code teacher link. You can post it to your Google Classroom. And a lot of students have situations where should you give them the link, for some reason they're asking for this code, and maybe it's because they're using a cell phone. It's easier for them to get to the Nearpod using the code. So here, as I click start activity, I would actually initiate this timer where students have a timed response. And we see this timer in effect going. Right? If I have this activity, I could see all of my students' responses on one screen. And then if I wanted to, I could actually click this S on the top right-hand side, and I could see my student view. And as we wait for it to change to the student view, it'll show us what the students see on their end. Now again, this could be a little time consuming in the course of a lesson, so you might just want to open up a new tab and see them side by side, right? We see here is how it is presented to the students. We see the question on the top, and we have the box on the bottom showing us what they're asking for and our timer. So let's go back to our teacher page. And for live participation, the main difference is students can't go on to the next slide until you go to the next slide, right? And I really wanted to show the student page for the draw it activity as well. And again, this could be very useful if you're doing a graphic activity and students would be able to draw on this slide. So I hope you guys found this useful, and thank you.